What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Texas Tech Red Raiders are up next. The Red Raiders coming off a 7-6 year last year in 2023. In my opinion, it was kind of a disappointing year for Texas Tech. I did pick this team last year to be like a dark horse contender in the Big 12. They had so much production coming back from last year, but they did not live up to those expectations. So my thoughts on this team, though, for 2024, Tyler Shough, of course, entering the transfer portal. That's going to be a huge loss for them at quarterback, but they got plenty of options at quarterback. They also brought in some transfers to help them out, but I do expect Texas Tech to be right there between like 6, 7, 8 wins. This is a very consistent program in the Big 12. So let's now get to the schedule here for 2024. This is the schedule here for Texas Tech. Again, they were 7-6 last year in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for the Red Raiders for 2024. They will open things up with Albany Kristen here on August 31st. I think Texas Tech wins this game fairly easily. You got a new quarterback and everything. We'll see how he does here in this first game of the season, in his first start and everything after being back up last year behind Tyler Shough. I think Texas Tech should be able to score like 30 or maybe like 40 points in this game as well. So I think Texas Tech starts off 1-0 pretty easily with a win over Albany Kristen there on August 31st. And then after that, they'll play on the road here at Washington State here on September 7th. This will be a very tricky game here for Texas Tech. We saw them going up against like a Pac-12 team in Oregon last year, and this time they will take on a former team that we used to study in the Pac-12 in Washington State. Washington State is a team that I feel like will be not the same as they were from last year and the year before and everything. They did lose Cam Ward at quarterback and everything, so they do lose him. But, it's on the road. You never know what can happen. It's a very tough place to play here at Washington State. But I think Texas Tech definitely is the better team here, and obviously I don't really study Washington State that much anymore, so I have to go with Texas Tech here. And I think also Texas Tech is definitely the more consistent team as well. And with Washington State losing Cam Ward at quarterback, I definitely am concerned about the passing game for Washington State. So I'm going to go with Texas Tech here. I think they get a sneaky win here on the road at Washington State. I know that really sounds crazy and everything, but I'm going to go with the Red Raiders here to knock off Washington State. So that puts their record now at 2-0. And then they take care of business against North Texas here on September 14th. So now that puts their record now here at 3-0. And then they open up Big 12 play here at home against Arizona State here on September 21st. Not really that high on Arizona State this year. They do have a second-year head coach. They're still kind of like in rebuild mode. They kind of had a rough year last year, and they're also coming from the Pac-12 and everything. But I just think Texas Tech is definitely the better team here. I think Texas Tech wins this one fairly easily. Don't really see this game being all that close. I just don't think Arizona State's going to be all that great this year. So I think Texas Tech beats Arizona State here, and that puts their record here at 4-0. Then they play Cincinnati after that here on September 28th. Another home game here for the Red Raiders. And I'm also not really that high on the Bearcats this year. I know Scott Satterfield is not a bad coach and everything, but Cincinnati just doesn't really have like the talent like they used to have when they were at the Group of 5 level and everything. I think Texas Tech also playing at home, that does favor them here in this one. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Texas Tech here to knock off Cincinnati. Again, fairly easily win. Just like the Arizona State game. So I got Texas Tech actually starting out 5-0 going into the month of October. They do play Arizona, though, here on the road on October 5th. I just done my Arizona video from last week, and I did choose Arizona to win this game. I think it's going to be a very competitive game. Arizona is playing at home in this one. I think I do expect a close game here in this one, but I'm going to go with Arizona here just because they're playing at home and everything. I think Arizona is still going to be a really solid team, so I got Arizona beating Texas Tech and also giving them their first loss of the season. So that puts Texas Tech's record now here at 5-1. They get their first bye week here of the season before playing Baylor at home here on October 19th. Look at this Baylor team. I'm really having a hard time figuring out what they're going to look like. I think their offense will be pretty solid, but defensively, I do have some question marks about the defense for Baylor. Baylor really hasn't been that really good in the last couple years ever since they won the Big 12 championship back in 2021. So Baylor, will they be better this year? I really don't know. I'm kind of having a hard time figuring out how good they're going to be. I think Texas Tech coming out of the bye week and after the lost to Arizona a couple weeks ago. They come out really fired up, and they get a redemption win here over Baylor from the loss to Arizona from a couple weeks ago. So I got Texas Tech beating Baylor here on October 19th, and that puts their record now here at 6-1. And then after that, they'll play on the road here at TCU on October 26th in the last weekend in the month of October. TCU, I think, is going to be really much better this year. They were coming off a 5-7 year last year in 2023. Both of these teams actually were picked as dark horse contenders in the Big 12 last year, but they did not live up to those expectations. This year, I don't really think they're dark horse contenders, but they're definitely two teams that definitely will be better this year. But TCU, they're playing at home in this one. This is a very tough one to call. I've been back and forth on this game. I'm going to go with the home field advantage. I'm going to say that TCU beats Texas Tech here in the last weekend of the month of October. So that gives Texas Tech their second loss here of the season on the road here at TCU, and that puts their record now here at 6-2. And then after that, they play on the road here at Iowa State on November 2nd to open things up here in the month of November. This is an Iowa State team that's really got a lot of production coming back. They got the second most returning production coming back in the country, and mainly also, I think they have the most production coming back in the Big 12 as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Iowa State's going to be really good this year. I do expect a competitive game, though. I really know it's on the road and everything, but I think it's going to be a really competitive game between these two teams. Texas Tech, will fight in this game until the fourth quarter and everything, but it really comes down to maybe like a turnover. But I think Iowa State playing at home, it's a really tough game to call. It's also a road game, so it's a very tough place to play. It's a 50-50 game as well. I'm going to go with the Cyclones here, though, to get the win just because they're playing at home. I think every game, like I said, in the Big 12 is going to be very competitive. And like I said, a lot of these teams are going to beat up on each other in the Big 12, and anybody can win this conference. This conference is just going to be so much fun to watch. And again, I'm really having a hard time predicting all these Big 12 teams coming up this year for 2024, but that'll be the third loss of the season there for Texas Tech, and then after that they'll play at home against Colorado here on November 9th. A Colorado team that I think will be really good this year coming over to the Big 12 and everything. I do expect a very competitive game here in this one, but I think Texas Tech will be fired up for this one. After back-to-back losses there on the road at TCU and Iowa State, two very tough back-to-back road games there. I think they come out really fired up here against Colorado, but I do expect a really good, back-and-forth game here in this one. It could potentially be a shootout, but I'm going to go with Texas Tech here just because of the home field advantage. Again, every game in the Big 12 is going to be really tough to call when you're going up against like a team on the road, and then also a game that you're playing at home. So I think Texas Tech beats Colorado here in a close game. I think it's going to be really competitive. I think Texas Tech playing at home, that does favor them here in this one just a little bit. So I got Texas Tech getting a bounce-back win there over Colorado after two losses on the road on October 26th and November 2nd on TCU and Iowa State. They get the win over Colorado, and that puts their record now here at 7-3. They get their second bye week here before playing a tough road game against Oklahoma State here on November 23rd. I don't really think this game is going to be all that close. I think Oklahoma State definitely clearly is the more talented team here. I know Texas Tech gets a bye week before playing this game, but the Cowboys are still my favorite to probably win the Big 12 this year and also probably make the college football playoff as well. And they have a very talented roster. You got Ollie Gordon. I think Oklahoma State's going to probably want to run the football in this game and really wear down the Texas Tech defense and everything, but I'm going to go with Oklahoma State here just because they're playing at home. That's a very tough place to play, and both of these teams are very consistent teams in the Big 12 as well. So I got Texas Tech losing on the road here at Oklahoma State. That's their fourth loss of the season, and then the final game is at home against West Virginia on November 30th. I did my West Virginia video from last week, and I did choose, of course, Texas Tech to win this game. Both of these teams, I think, are pretty even. West Virginia does have a more experienced roster than Texas Tech does, but playing at home, Texas Tech, I think, will be fired up for this one. Maybe this is a West Virginia team that does go into this one as like a top 25 team, and it's definitely one of those upset alert type games here at the end of the year. And again, I've already made my prediction for this game, and I did choose Texas Tech to win this one. I think it's going to be a really close game, a really low-scoring type game as well. Anything can happen here in this one. But I'm going to go with Texas Tech here just because they're playing at home. Kind of hard to go against Texas Tech when they're playing at home in these kind of big games and everything. So I'm going to go with the Red Raiders there to win their final game of the regular season at home against West Virginia. So my official prediction here for Texas Tech for 2024 is 8-4. I think that's a pretty fair prediction. You look at this schedule, they got some really tough road games with Arizona, TCU, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State. But don't forget about that Washington State game in the early part of the season on the road as well. They could probably go 7-5 with that non-conference loss to Washington State. But I just think going into that game, Texas Tech definitely is the better team there. And that's the reason why I got them finishing 8-4 here for 2024. So maybe this team could be a dark horse contender in the Big 12. But again, the Big 12 is definitely wide open. It's definitely going to be a conference that can definitely go either way, but I think Texas Tech finishes 8-4 here for 2024. So I do expect them to be right there around 6, 7, 8 wins in 2024 because this team is very consistent here in the Big 12 as a program. So my official prediction again for Texas Tech is 8-4 here for 2024. So let me guys know what you think about this Texas Tech team. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports Channel.